What is going on, guys? Welcome to Tech Savvy Buyer. So, as you guys probably already know, the PlayStation Classic has gotten horrible reviews, and rightfully so. I was one of the people that told you guys, hey, don't cancel your pre-order, make a decision for yourself, try it before, you form an opinion off somebody else's reviews. And needless to say, I got my hands on it, I tried it, and I was very disappointed to see the way that Sony took the easy, lazy way out of this. So, instead of this, let's just toss this guy aside. I want to show you guys the Shield. Now, I've already put out several videos detailing what some cool things that the Nvidia Shield does, but the main focus of today's video is I want to show you how this guy can actually emulate PlayStation 1 games better than Sony's $100 Classic. So you can pick this up right now, I believe, for about $150 or $140, depending on which one you get, whether it has the controller or whether it doesn't have the gaming controller like the one pictured on the box here. But nonetheless, this drops down to price. During Black Friday it was $119. I imagine it's going to come down again for Christmas, so hold out to get it by then. But I want to show you guys how good that emulators run on Nvidia's Shield, and you basically don't need to waste money on buying something like this. You can keep this and run all kinds of emulators from Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, GameCube, PS1, and even GameStream PS2 ROMs onto your Shield from your desktop. So let me show you how exactly it is easy to run games on this. I'm not going to give you guys a detailed tutorial on how to install stuff on there. There's plenty of tutorials out there. I'm going to try and keep this video short, but I want to show you how the games look and run on Nvidia's Shield. So let's take a look at that coming up. So as I mentioned, guys, the Nvidia Shield is totally better than the PS Classic and pretty much just runs laps around the PS Classic when it comes to emulation and the wide availability of games that you can use on this. So, there's a lot of debate on why the PS Classic came with the game list that it did. There's a few good titles on there, and most of them are just meh. They're not titles that I really cared for. And there's a lot of other titles that I wish that they had put on there, such as Crash Bandicoot, for example. I wish that they had a better version of Tekken 3 running on there versus the PAL one, where it's kind of slow and at 50 hertz or 50 frames per second, where on the Shield you can get that at 60 frames per second pretty easily. And in addition to that, a couple other games like NFL Blitz, one of my personal favorites, I wish they had included something like that. Again, the game list can go on and on, right? I can single-handedly put out a bunch of different games where I think were worth it. A lot of people said Spyro should have been on there, Crash Bandicoot, as I mentioned, should have been on there, but again, game list, I get it. But other than that, just the overall emulation and the fact that you can't tweak multiple settings on the PS Classic, if you go in the settings menu, there's pretty much nothing in there. The Shield lets you, through the use of the emulator EPSXE, go through a multitude of settings that you wouldn't be able to adjust on the PS Classic. You can adjust scan lines, you can adjust frame rate, you can adjust hardware acceleration, rendering resolution. So essentially you can have the games look and play better than they did on the native first console. Almost in a way, I wouldn't call it as far as saying that they're remastered, but you're kind of remastering them very slightly by making these small tweaks. So your gameplay experience on a Shield is going to be 100 times better than it would be on a PS Classic. And here's another interesting thing. So the PS Classic came with the non-DualShock version controllers, which everyone complained about, that certain games took great advantage of having those DualShocks, and the lack of inclusion of it would make the gameplay suffer. Well, the wonderful thing about the Nvidia Shield is you can actually connect an Xbox One controller, you can connect a Nintendo Wii controller, you can connect a PlayStation controller, you can connect any controller that you want. But that pretty much concludes these gameplay videos. Alright guys, welcome back. So as you guys saw, it's really cool how the Nvidia Shield can emulate PS1 games, and there's a bunch of different settings in there that you can tweak. I didn't even get to go in that. We just scratched the surface with EPSXE and how good that emulator actually runs on the Shield. But you guys could see that all the games are running at 60 frames per second. You don't have to go through the NTSC and PAL kind of garbage that you're going there. You can choose multiple save states, and of course they use OpenGL, which means you can preload shaders in there and get the colors to look more accurate. You can introduce scan lines. Basically, in a nutshell, you have so many more options of customization without technically jailbreaking or doing any of the stuff. The stuff that this guy should have done out of the box, and it didn't do out of the box. You have to wait for a hack to be able to do stuff like that. Well, at that point, what's the point? when you can pick up something like this that can do it right out of the box. So needless to say, guys, if you are still looking for a nice device to run your PS1 games or your Nintendo 64 games, and I know I didn't even show those, or the Dreamcast games, but there's so much more you can do. I'll make a more detailed video in the coming weeks on all the different emulation possibilities. I know that Modern Vintage Gamer has a really good video out on the Shield and its emulation capabilities, so I'm going to put a link to his video in the description below. You guys can go check him out. Awesome channel. Make sure you subscribe to him when you do get there. But other than that, what I wanted to say, guys, is definitely put your money towards this. This is an awesome media device. You use it for a whole bunch of things. If you haven't seen my previous review, I'll link it up in the card below. You can click on that and watch the last review I gave on the Nvidia Shield TV. But other than that, I think it's pretty safe to say that, guys, go and put your money towards this. It's definitely worth it. There's so much stuff you can do with it. There's just not as many things that you can do with the PlayStation Classic. And I know it might not be the most fair comparison, but when it comes to just running PS1 games, it's surprising to see that Nvidia is doing it 100 times better than Sony is doing it in their own bread and butter, their own console. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below if you think it's worth picking up a Shield to emulate PS1 games versus getting a PlayStation 1 Classic. But other than that, guys, that is pretty much the end of this video, so I will see you on my next one. Take care.